This live presentation was produced in Ashland, Oregon by the Rogue Valley Metaphysical Library and Event Center. RVML relies on the support of our volunteers, members, and donors to organize and present these programs. For more information about this presentation, or to borrow, download, or purchase other recordings from our catalog, please visit our website at rvml.org.
I just want to thank everybody for coming, and to get into the meat of the matter. What happened to me about almost 25 years ago, I had a near-death experience where I actually drowned and crossed over and went through the tunnel of light that everybody talks about. And I ended up in this plane of bliss, just pure golden white energy. And had a little conversation with what I call the source, and then after that returned, So the problem was when I returned, I was not the same person at all. I was doing commercial real estate. At the time, I had my own office, all these people working for me. I was very entrenched in social consciousness and material mind. And after that experience, it completely changed my life, and it made me what I call ultra-sensitive and kicked in what I call interdimensional mind. And I just spoke at the John Mack Memorial down in Oakland, and it was interesting because a lot of the people were talking about his latest research, and almost all of the latest research was pointing towards the spiritual. And so everything he said in all of his studies and everything, he said the next frontier is spiritual. In the ufology, everything, the next step is spiritual. So if you really want to get into the whole phenomenon, you have to shift into what I call interdimensional mind and open up to the fact that we're much more than just a body and just a personality. That we're actually a spirit, an eternal spirit, and we can actually connect with that, leave the body, and jump dimensions and start experiencing all these other realities that are right alongside of us. That was what was happening to me. It took me a long time to get my feet back on the ground. On my website, it's ECETI.org. If you go to the bio, you can actually see a picture taken by Tom Dongo. And it was taken with a regular 35 millimeter camera. And I told him when I was leaving the body. He took a picture, and you can see I'm sitting there meditating. You'll see my eyes are closed, and then you'll see another body leaving outside of this body where my eyes are open. And the other body is a little bigger than this body. So we actually have it on film, these out-of-body experiences. So it's an amazing photo. But most of the photographs taken up at the ranch are all taken by UFO investigators and guests. In the very beginning, almost all of them were. They wouldn't let me film them. And I was kind of getting frustrated with it. And I said, what's the story here? You're showing yourself to everybody else. You're letting them film them and everything else. And you're not showing yourself to me. Everybody else is getting to see you, and I just have to accept it as this is happening. And they told me that they wanted me to continue to develop the inner sensitivity and the inner levels and the telepathic abilities. And the more I developed that, the more they'd show themselves to me. And they did. The more I did my meditation and did my other spiritual practices, the more they came, and they kept showing up more and more and more. So what I realized through this whole endeavor is that some of these beings coming to the ranch are almost 2 million years ahead of us in evolution. And we have shots of their ships, and they're incredible. They're like Merkabahs. And you'll see one of these ships, I'll show you. It's Blagi's ship, and she's actually what a lot of people refer to as the Palladians, but she's about 2 million years ahead of us in the evolutionary process. And they didn't tell me that until just recently, because I would have gone, oh crap, I'm in trouble, what do I say to somebody 2 million years ahead of us, But they're extremely forgiving, extremely compassionate and understanding. They've gone through the same evolution we're going through right now, and they're here as helpers, basically. They're not going to trespass on free will. They're not going to fix everything for us, but they're going to continue to inspire and inspire people to do the right thing, to clean up the consciousness in the environment here. What I love about Ashland is that the people here are by the majority are awake. This is a great community to come to. I was going to tell people, by the way, this is just a mic. It's not a prompter from my back, But, I get prompting from another level. But it's funny that it's in my neck of the woods, you have to be careful what you say, because I'm out in the boonies there, with some backwards people, There are some forward-thinking people, but you have to be careful. But I love this in Ashland. You can come and just speak your mind and say what's up, and it's a lot more non-judgmental, a lot more open to alternate thinking and realities. What's happening up there, I was trying to explain to people about it. It's been my experience. I don't focus very much on the low-level contact scenario. There are low-level contacts. There are agreements that were made. There were back in the, it's been going on since the 30s, actually. And there's been agreements with our government, and the government did agree to work alongside what they call the grays, and those are the little guys with the black eyes, and then they have another one that has a real big nose and the black eyes, and then a taller gray. And those groups were working, alongside of the government, and they traded technology for genetics, and that's where all the abductions were coming from and things of that nature. That's a lot of John Mack's work. He came forward. He was a Harvard University professor, and he came forward and said, hey, all my cases are coming up with the same scenario. They don't even know anything. They're not into UFOs or anything, but they're coming up with the exact same scenario, detailed information. I have to, he goes, this is all documented. This is science, He said, I have to bring this forward. And I believe they fired him at first, but then he got his job back, and it was a big legal battle. But that's a whole nother scenario. We're working mainly on, there's another group that's just observing. There's other ETs that are just observing. They're watching us go through this incredible evolutionary process we're going through right now. And they're just kind of sitting back and observing. And there's other groups that are actually doing as much as they can, according to universal law, to step in and help us. And that group is very important right now, because some of the things that they're doing would just blow your minds if you knew what they were doing. Some of the things they're doing? Yeah, well, one of the things they're doing is that our sun is going ballistic. We've been in a super mega cycle. It's just unprecedented. It never stopped. It's not an 11-year cycle. It's still ongoing. And the sun is expanding, and it's changing its makeup. Everything is changing with the sun. It's pumping out a lot more energy, and it's shooting off one solar flare or coronal mass ejection after another. Some of these coronal mass ejections actually, if it would have released and hit dead on, because it's like a revolving cannon. If it hit the Earth dead on, it would have been what they call a kill shot. It would have sterilized the Earth that was facing the sun at the time. There are ships, and we have photos of these ships, and they're NASA photos, and I have them on one of the videos back there of these ships. And these ships, you'll see them sitting right there in front of the sun. And when you look at the size of these ships and compare the Earth to the sun, it'll blow your mind. These are enormous ships. These ships will expand out their fields and create a giant ring and actually absorb the energy from the shot. And they know when it's going to happen, because they do time travel. They can go forward or backward in time. They know when these events are going to happen, and they're setting up for it. And so there's a lot of NASA footage of this event happening. They know it's happening, but like everything, they don't want to let it out. So we deal with a lot of people don't realize, but NASA has their own UFO investigation team that's very quiet, and they send them around. They've been up to the ranch, they've checked it out, they've seen the ships, they know it's for real. ECETI knows it's for real too, but both those agencies are totally restricted. Everything concerning UFOs goes under national security, and it has to go to the NSA before it can be released to the public. And there's some good people in NASA and ECETI. One of the directors of ECETI actually sent me an email saying, please continue your work. This is great, but it's not going to come through us. They said, I'm sorry to say it won't come through us. And they said, but keep doing your work. So I won't say which one it is because I don't want to get him fired. He actually went to a friend of his computer and sent it from there and sent the email from there. And then he even said, I won't tell you which one I am, but he gave me some information that kind of verified that. So there's good people in NASA and ECETI that want to bring this information out, but they're blocked. They can't. They just can't do it. There's a lot of things going on right now. What I see in all the agencies, whatever you call them, the alphabet agencies, all these agencies right now are split. They're kind of split with some good people that want to do the right thing, that really want to serve humanity. That's what they signed up for. And then there's other people that just do what they're told. And they just go by the law, and the orders are coming from, we all know who, They're coming from some very high people, even beyond the White House. So they follow those orders. But there's a split happening right now, and there's a lot of people breaking ranks and just saying, I can't do this anymore. And that has to do a lot with what's happening on the planet right now. Because we're going through a shift right now. It's a vibrational lifting. And I mean, how many people have been feeling that? Have you just been feeling these intense energies just coming through? These emotional roller coasters and bursts and outbursts and going, am I going crazy? And you can't let go of this, and it's like, and that's what's happening. It's these energy shifts we're going through. Now, this information is coming out of Russia, and Russia has made it very clear what's going on. Our whole solar system, its leading edge as it's moving through space is 1,000 times brighter. I mean, it's glowing. And all of the stars are putting out at least 3 times more light. The planets are undergoing atmospheric changes. They're gaining atmosphere. Even the moon's starting to gain an atmosphere. All these things are happening right now. And it's just an incredible shift. And our planet, with the sun, when the sun blasts these huge solar flares and coronal mass ejections, the Earth absorbs it through the poles. All this energy is coming in through the poles. All this energy is coming into the whole system, and it's being absorbed by the Earth. Guess what we're standing on? The Earth. We're absorbing this energy. The Earth is expanding right now. There's a lot of pressure going on, and the plates are moving. They're getting ready to move. That's where these big quakes are coming from, and the tsunamis. So we're in those times that everybody's talked about. The ETs have been talking about this for a long time. These times are coming. Before, there was a lot of people giving a lot of major doom and gloom prophecies, and I kept going, you're way ahead of schedule, and everybody get mad at me. I go, well, that's not going to happen yet. It's not time. It's not time. But now I'm saying it's time. They're telling me it's time. So we are going to be moving on this shift. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. There's a lot of people that might be checking out, but we're all eternal beings, and we're going to come back around. We're going to come back around to a much healthier planet and a body that's not going to be so contaminated with all the toxins, and the chemtrails, and all these other things that are coming down on us right now. I had a colonel, which I got very ticked off at me, sent me an email, and he said, if you were totally enlightened, you would know why these chemtrails are necessary. And also told me that you would understand why we have to reduce the population. And I said, well, if you're really enlightened, you'd be first, And I said, you first. And he goes, no, I'm too important. I go, no, you're too arrogant, And so, And so I said, don't talk to me about enlightenment. If you're awake and you really think it's necessary for population control, you first. And I haven't heard back from him. I haven't heard anything back from him, but I get a lot of emails like that, where people. I had another colonel with another place. It's funny, I had these 2 colonels. One was a base commander. I won't mention his name. I don't want to get him in trouble. And he's just finding out everything he can about this, and he's totally into it. And he's into the 5th dimensional consciousness, and it's all he talks about and what's happening. He actually worked on the retrieval of some of the lunar missions, the Apollo missions and things like that. He's totally into it. And this other one's calling me and saying, why are you putting out this crap? And he starts calling me every name. You're totally deceiving the people and everything else, and just coming down really hard. And I said, excuse me, sir. I said, are you a colonel? And he said, yeah. And I go, I mean, you're a colonel and you don't even know what's going on? And he goes, what do you mean? And I said, I'm sad that you're out of the loop, And he goes, and he got really quiet, and I said, come on. I said, you can't be a colonel and not know what's going on. You've been chasing these things forever. And I said, you haven't found out anything, have you? And the guy admitted, he goes, and finally went, well, he goes, you know what? He goes, we just wish we could catch one of them, and he said, and I said, rumor has it you already have a few of them, and he goes, not those. He goes, we want to catch the other guys, the ones that are shifting dimensions and coming in at several thousand miles an hour and making right-hand turns. Which is interesting because they have been, and that's the sad part about it. I have footage of this beautiful golden ship coming in right over the sanctuary. On the other side of the mountain, they brought in some gear, and these are pulse lasers and some kind of a plasma weapon. And the UFO is flying over, and all of a sudden you could see all these pulse lasers going up, and then a plasma weapon going up at it. And they hit right on it. It just got a little brighter as it went, and then it just kept going on its merry way, And so they go, we'll come back later. That's what they say. They take the high road. They're extremely evolved. And they just take the high road. They go, okay, we'll come back later, when you guys are done playing. And to me, in the interest of national security, when you shoot everything you have at something like that, you better make friends with it. That's common sense. Interest of national security, you have these beings that are coming here. Some are interstellar, some are interdimensional. They have technology beyond our wildest dreams. They could turn this planet into a cinder if they wanted to. They fly over our nuclear bases and shut everything down. They've done that several times. That's a well-known fact, very well documented. The people go in there and the firing mechanism's gone, dematerialized. Where'd it go? They don't know. So they can bring it up to launch. They went over Russia, some of the silos in Russia. They brought it right up to launch, and then they shut everything down just to show them that, look, you guys need to just get rid of this stuff. It's no good. They won't allow a nuclear exchange. That's one thing they will intervene on. They said there's too many other life forms here. There's too many other civilizations we don't even know about that are living here. There's underground civilizations living here, and they just said that's totally inappropriate, and they won't allow that to happen. So that's one thing they will step in and just say no. So we really don't need all these programs, these Star Wars programs, these new nukes, all these other things. They're just totally unnecessary. They aren't going to function anyway. But that was one of the good news. I love when they said that. They said, no, we won't let any kind of nuclear exchange happen. They said, that's it. There might be some small little tactical stuff, but other than that, that's it. They're going to come in. And they've already done it. They've actually neutralized quite a few things that could have happened, that they've stepped in and just dematerialize things. So, it's easy for them to do that. We've had jets go up. There's a very well documented case of a Swiss jet that came right in on a ship, and when they landed, all their armaments were gone. Even the wiring for the firing mechanism, everything was gone. The bombs, rockets, everything, not just disappeared. So that's really easy. They could take a jet coming in on them. They can do one of two things. Either they can shift dimensions, or they can put that jet in another time. And he could be flying over and all of a sudden look down and see dinosaurs and go, oops. That's the kind of technology these guys have. It's phenomenal. But some of the ones coming to our place, they're coming in light ships. We have a lot of light ship footage. Most of it is the light ships. A lot of people said, well, that's not real because you don't have any physical craft. We do have pictures of physical craft. I didn't have time to load them up on our presentation here, but you can go to the website. It's ECETI.org. One of the events happened there. Spar Gideman, who's one of the UFO investigators that comes up there quite a bit, he came up and was taking shots, and we're getting we're building this conference center, and we're the only ones out there busting our butts trying to get this thing done. Working in the snow, and we don't have the materials or anything, and you get a little down after a while, and you're going, are we nuts? Building this thing, it's like that Field of Dreams. They go, if you build it, they will come. And I was always saying, well, if you build it, you are dumb. I said, that's what they really said. We weren't listening. So we're kind of getting a little down, and he was just shooting. Took his digital camera out and started shooting, and we look at the film, and here's 7 metal ships hovering right over the conference building. And so they're always watching. They're always telepathically interphasing and observing, and kind of like cheerleading. They're like these interdimensional cheerleaders that are trying to get us to go forward with all this. But They want to see us make it. They want to see us get through these times. And they're just waiting for us to stop acting so primitive and stop this war and this other nonsense so they can come in. Because they have the technology to end disease. They have the fuelless energy. They have all the technology we need to turn this planet around. The problem is we don't have the consciousness for it yet. And that's what they want us to do, is to get our consciousness in order. And they want to walk among us and help us, but they can help us help ourselves, basically. And if we are going forward and we are trying, they're going to step in and help us. That's the main thing. You don't have to be perfect. God, I'm not perfect. I know that. I always tell people I'm not your guru and I'm not your teacher. I'm not your leader. Because everybody has their own unique purpose for being here, and the real guru is within. And if you follow me, you're lost because you have your own unique purpose and you have to get on with it, and find out what that is. But everybody needs to make their own personal connection with spirit. And, I'm not infallible, I'll admit that. And if people start following me, I'll do something really stupid to get you to quit, So I don't like that. I don't like people looking outside of themselves. I want people to go within. And that's the same way the ETs that we're working with, the spiritually and technologically advanced ETs are. They don't want to be worshipped. They don't want, us to follow them. They don't, they said, we're just like you. We're just a little further ahead in evolution, and we want to help out,
Do they have a name? Did they call themselves?
There's so many of them that yeah. I'll tell you some of them. There's the ones that we've been seeing up there. There's the standard Palladium Plagiarum group. They've been coming around, and they're coming from different times. So some of them are not as evolved, and some of them are extremely evolved, because they have time travel. And so we're getting some that are coming way, a couple millions ahead of us. They're coming in to check things out. The Andromedans are the ones that a lot of people have worked with. We're working very closely with that group too, more on a spiritual, telepathic level. There's a group from Orion that are very advanced that are coming in as well. There's a group, there's a couple groups coming in. I don't know where they're from, and they say it's not important. They don't even care about a name. They said it's not important. We don't even use names. What happens is they've evolved to a level where they're one with creation and they serve creation. That's all they do. They're here to serve creation. And they don't need anything. They want for nothing. So, and the identity is not any important to them, and they'll give you a name if you need it, call them Bob or something, if you want. But there's all kinds of different ones. One of the ones I've really been enjoying is there's this feline race that's humanoid. They're humanoid and they have ears like a cat, and they have real close fur. And there's actually a picture on our website. Michelle back there in the back did a wonderful artist rendering of one of them, and I gave her a description and she drew it. But some of the physicists I'm working with, they've been working with them too. And when they saw the picture, it shocked them. They go, oh my God, and they actually put things in their hands, said, here, when it's time, bring this out. And so we have everything we need right now. It's on the planet to turn this planet around. And the only thing that's lacking is the movement behind it. Getting the people behind it, getting the funding behind it, getting it out there. That's the only thing missing right now. Everything's here. So, technology is beyond your... some of the technology is actually coming out with John Gray. He's, Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, the guy that wrote that book. We're actually building a spa at his hilltop. He has a hilltop ranch in, what's the name of that town? It's Westport, yeah, right near Fort Bragg. And one of the physicists I'm working with actually created this light table that's phenomenal. And it uses special light, frequency, magnets, everything, and it just scans your body. It goes back and forth. Starts pulling everything out of your body that doesn't need to be there. And it totally transforms your cells. It actually creates a communication between the good cells and reactivates the cells that aren't so good. And it's amazing what it does. He has these baths where you actually soak in the crystallized oxygen, the water. And this is about 900% more oxygen in it than regular water. The biggest organ you have is your skin. And when this goes through your skin, it penetrates all the way to the bone. And almost all your pathogens, your viruses and bacteria, and even cancer is anaerobic. You know, the way you cure cancer is you raise the body pH and you increase the blood oxygen. This has been known since the 40s. You know, where is it? You know, part of it's in that bottle back there. So that bottle back there is incredible. The water that we're giving away for samples, it's what it is. It's a microhydrant. It's a smaller water molecule, and it has crystals suspended in the water. That's how we kick up the oxygen levels. And when you open the lid, it doesn't just go and gone. This water actually implodes. It pulls in. It's not like your normal water. It's amazing. But it goes after any of the synthetics in your body. It just starts cleaning your system out. It goes after the viruses and bacteria. We have it on a microscope. It's incredible. It looks like a killing field, but it's different. You have all these viruses and bacteria, and you put the water in, and you can watch it, and all of a sudden they just start popping, and they go from a complex structure that actually breaks the bonds. They actually crystallize and become crystalline in nature, and they actually become beneficial. So you're not killing them, you're actually transforming them into something beneficial for the body. And when I saw that in the microscope, I was just shocked. I went, oh my God. You know, I said, do you know what this is? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, and I go, how are you going to get it out? And he goes, you're going to help me. You know, and I went, oh no, you know.
How
So
do they make the water?
it goes through probably several $1 million worth of equipment, and it's beyond NASA technology. It's extremely high. There's frequencies involved. It has all the minerals in it, even the monatomic minerals are in the water. Everything's in it. A lot of waters people are drinking right now with reverse osmosis or distilled water. It's dead water. There's no minerals in it. And when you drink it, it starts stripping the minerals out of your body. And so though it's pure, it's still, you want live water. You even want bacteria, the good bacteria in the water. You know, you need that. Your body needs it. So you need an oxygen that's not a burner, that doesn't burn up the good bacteria too. It has to be all natural, the way it's made. So, and this is taking it straight out of the air. It's not a chemical process at all. But it's pretty amazing the way it works. But I mean, when I saw that, I just saw that in these times right now, our bodies are so full of toxins and synthetics. I mean, most people here usually eat pretty healthy, but you know, the mainstream society is, you cannot get away from it. Everything's acid, you know, in our bodies. And so our blood oxygen is, when your body becomes acidic, your blood oxygen drops way down. And when your blood oxygen drops down, your body becomes acidic. It's just a breeding ground for pathogens, for cancer, for everything. It goes crazy. And Otto Warburg, he's like I think a triple Nobel Prize winner, realized that the way you stop cancer is you raise the pH, make your body more alkaline, and you increase the blood oxygen. Because cancer cells are anaerobic. They hate oxygen, and they back out of the system. So it's pretty amazing. There's other special formulas you can make that help out that the German biophysicists I work with have as well. But you can check that out on the site. But I mean, I don't want to come across as a salesman, you know, for this water, but it's just amazing. It's basically higher consciousness in a bottle, because it's a 7-sided crystallized oxygen, which is attuned to a whole different frequency. And when you drink it, your brain kicks on, opens up, your heart gets the oxygen it needs, the whole circulation system starts kicking on. So it's just amazing. You know, I said I'm never going to do any sales again after I quit, you know, after I had the near-death experience. I said, I'm not even going to get involved in this. But when I saw this, I go, this has to get out. You know, the people need this right now. Because right now, if you really analyze what's in the air, you wouldn't breathe, you know. It's really that bad. You know, it's not good what's coming down right now. And you know, with all the petrochemical exhaust and everything else, and it's not good at all. There's all kinds of biologicals in the air. You know, and so we need, you know, people right now need a defense for this. You know, that's why we're bringing this out.
Does it neutralize microwaves? That would be pretty good.
Well, it would help repair the damage. I don't know if it would neutralize them. I haven't figured that one out, but you know, there's ways you can neutralize it. There's other techniques you can do that neutralize the microwaves. There's technology that does it, and then there's also spiritual things you can do. But it grades on you after a while. I mean, there's so many things hitting us right now. There's psychotronics, there's HARP, there's all the cell phone towers, there's all these things going on, and they're really playing havoc on your body. they're actually interrupting the hormone flows and everything in our bodies, and there's other ways of doing this. Even with the cell phones, they could change the frequencies and use different frequencies, and they wouldn't be harmful. So there's a lot of different ways we could do that to change that. But it all comes back to awareness. People need to get educated and stop the demand. Just say, no, come up with something else, and I'll take it. This doesn't work. This is harmful. Come up with something else, and they will. They'll come up with something else. It's just supply and demand. And if people are not educated and they keep buying the same garbage over and over again, it's like organic food. People are starting to shift. Before, organic food was not anywhere. You hardly saw any places that had organic food. Now they're everywhere. Even the supermarkets are carrying organic food because the people are going, I'm not going to buy this stuff anymore. Change, you need to change. And so people are changing. But it's the same thing, same with the automobiles. People say, okay, I'm not going to buy these cars anymore. Give me at least a hybrid, If you can't give me a hybrid, give me a fuelless, give me one of these, GM has a magnetic motor right now. And they're testing it, and it is working, it's functioning, and they're getting ready to, they're saying it might be a couple of years before they come out with it. But the fuelless technology is already here right now. I know some physicists, and I'll show you pictures later on. Hopefully we have time. I'll show some of the footage where you can actually see some of these motors running. One of the engines, the inventor kind of got distracted on the phone, and he let it run a little bit too long, and it took off, and it went through the ceiling and punched a big hole through his ceiling. So imagine the power this thing has. It's not a matter of generating power. It's what do you do with it. When you tap 0 point or free energy, what do you do with it? Because there's so much of it. It's unlimited, and it got away from him, And I asked him. I said, "Well, where'd it go?" And he said, "Last time I saw it, it was headed towards the sun." So it's gone. It's so one of his. So it's there. The technology is there. It's here right now. We have countergravity. We have anti-gravity is kind of not that big a deal. Anti-gravity just levitates things, and countergravity just, propels things several thousand miles an hour. So we have the countergravity, anti-gravity we've had for a long time. But we've been doing that since the 50s, maybe even earlier. Since the Roswell crashes and other crashes, but we've had that technology. I don't know how much time we got before break. Is there about 15? Yeah, let me pop this on. Can you cue the DVD? Because that's what I wanted to go to. You stand back here. Okay.
Lights on? If you turn it off, it's coming up. Turn the light off.
Where's the light? Oh, here we go. That's me. Yep, that's me. I'm bilocating here. This is the beginning. Is there a way we can, is somebody on the lights, is there a light we can cue some of these down so we can see this a little clearer? Usually the darker the better. But.
Can you turn it off?
Turn the lights off.
Oh, okay. He probably wants to do I think we can see it. This right here see this beam coming down? I was actually meditating directly under that beam. And actually, you can hear the sound. You can hear a pulsing sound. That's actually the sound of one of the ships. It's a real deep pulse.
What does it sound like?
It sounds like a cat, actually. It sounds like a cat purring. I have it on the website. If you go to the website, you can click on it, and it'll say sound of the mothership, and it'll come up. It's a very deep pulse. Okay, this is one of the ships coming over, and you can see it just went by a star. These are moving really fast. We've clocked some of these things, and if you take the Earth and run 2 lines up from one side of the Earth to the other, you've got 12,000 miles an hour. So if you have an object going from horizon to horizon in a minute, which is what we've timed some of these things going horizon to horizon in a minute, that's going 720,000 miles an hour. And some of them are going faster than that. So these are not satellites. They're not. They're going way too fast. But this particular one is the one they fired on. It's hard to see. It's a little bit washed out. But it's crossing over us right now, and it's going over towards the mountain, towards Mount Adams. It was kind of a gold color when it came over. It was like a goldish color. And on the sound's totally turned off, but you can hear the people in the background on it on the DVD. This is actually taken straight off the DVD in the back. Yeah, it's pulsing.
She's going to disappear right over there. A little bit further. She's going to disappear, okay? And then she's going to...
Yeah, that's actually a physicist talking right now
Little turkey.
in the background.
Did you see that laser fire? Did you
There
see
you
it
hear
up
it?
there? Something with laser fire up there.
I saw it.
Right behind it. Right behind it.
Also,
Now,
it's coming out of it.
With laser fire.
Try shooting it down now.
What happened is they brought some heavy equipment on the backside of the mountain, and we saw pulse lasers go off and some kind of a plasma weapon. And it hit directly on the ship, but the camera didn't pick it up. I don't know, but the witnesses all saw it. And okay, you can turn it down again, Jordan, will you? Yeah, we were all watching it, but for some reason the camera didn't pick up the lasers. It wasn't good enough quality.
Is it a military base near you?
There's the Yakima base way on the other side of the mountain, and it's a proving ground, but there's nothing else in the area. But these are definitely, you can see these have no strobes, they have no running lights on them, and they're just one solid ball of light, and they're moving very quickly. It goes further into, we can bring some, right after this, there's some other ones you can see.
These all the time.
The video just doesn't do justice. Some of the people here in the room have been up to the ranch. Well, you were there remember that one came over when, who was with you? David Farnsworth, Mark Cummings, and who else was there?
Sasha.
Yeah, Sasha. Remember that one came and just did that nice turn and then powered up, and we said light up again, and it did it one more time. And there's all kinds of people in this room that have seen these up at the ranch. These are some of the old carvings. That's an old carving in South America. It looks just like a cosmonaut. These are the old frescoes. They're all over the place. Their frescoes are all over Europe with UFOs in them, so they've been a part of our history for a long time. A lot of people have seen some of the Mexico City footage. I really like this one here. You can see it bouncing on the magnetic waves. You can see it right next to the... It's not, you can't... It's weird. It's not really showing up. You can barely see it. There it is. And you can hear the people in the background, and they're all like, if you knew Spanish, they're all cussing and, saying all kinds of, really excited. So obviously, this is one of my favorite ones, over around Egypt and Israel. These things are popping up. And people go, is there a connection to the pyramids, So this thing totally morphed into like a pyramid, which is really interesting.
Oh, it morphed?
Yeah.
That's the same thing that
That's the same ship. Yeah, it just turned into a pyramid and morphed.
Yeah.
These are some of the landings that we're going to get into. Now, this area that we're going to be showing, this whole mountain here, all the way to the right, is where all the landings are. And there's an entrance on the right side. The ships just come straight in. And that's all wilderness land. You cannot even take a helicopter in there. If there's an injury, you have to get a note from the governor and from the head of the Forestry Service to do a rescue there. They had a fire up on the mountain, and they had to hike in and try to put it out. They couldn't even drive trucks up there or do anything. They had to do it all by hand. That's how stringent it is. These are landings on the mountain. This is actually on the... Can you see you can barely see the top ridge of the mountain. This is actually on the mountain landing.
Well, is there something underground in that mountain that our government is using? That's why they're not letting people there?
No, our government isn't using it. ETs are using it.
So why is the government so...
Well, it's the wilderness. No, it's the Indian. It's the Yakima reservation. Yeah. Yeah, so it's funny that up there they let us, you can see this thing. It's really, now this is 13 miles away. So you can imagine the luminosity coming from these things. We've had them checked out, and they said the light spectrum coming off these ships is perfect light. It has the full spectrum. So it's not a halogen light or a sodium light. And I was asking a couple of people that are experts in the field, I said, well, what kind of luminosity would it take to make a light that brilliant? Because we have these 5 million candle power lights, and we went up on the mountain with a cell phone and called, and we could see, the mountain. We're saying, okay, shoot it right at us. And they could see the ranch. They camped out till it got dark, and they were shooting these lights. You couldn't even see them. And when you read the package, it goes, can be seen up to 3 miles. This is 13 miles away. And so you can imagine the light, how, oh yeah, it's morphing here from 1 into 2. It actually morphs into 3 ships.
What about all your neighbors up there? They must be seeing all this stuff.
Yeah, a lot of them don't want to talk about it. It's.
Do they see it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they see it. A lot of them see it, and a lot of them just don't even want to. They it's a strong Baptist community. Where are they going to go? Church next day and go, yeah, I saw it. It's like, they don't. But this is, this totally eliminates meteors. This is on the ground. What's nice is we took all this footage to the OMSI Planetarium, and we showed it to them. And these things are on the ground, morphing from 1 to 3. They're taking off. They're responding to people on the ground. And they fly, and we say, light it up. The thing powers up. Here we have the camera waiting for the ship, and I told them exactly when it was coming. And
I've done this redundantly. Yeah. I did it with NIDS. I did it
Tom
with
Dongo was there. The NIDS group was there. We've had all these different guys there. And I said, okay, we have to go out there, right after 9 and have the camera setting up right above these 2 trees. We're going to have a ship. And we're sitting there waiting. I flip on the camera's rolling, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the ship just pops in and then takes off. So we've proved redundantly that there's contact going on. What's that? Not yet. Here's a nice bright one, but not yet. It's too dangerous right now, unfortunately, because my first 2 contacts, I've had face-to-face contacts with them. I've had 2, and they said that's it for now. They said that because when you start talking and speaking about this, they said it's too dangerous for you and they said because it's not dangerous for them because they can protect themselves, but they don't want to create harm to anybody else, and they don't even want to deal with any againstness, so they take the high road. This is a beautiful one coming over at 5:30. It's about 5 in the morning, and I felt this incredible energy pulses going through my body, and I grabbed my camera and walked outside, and this flew over and just lit up. Yeah, they do that quite often.
So they communicate with you through the feelings?
Yeah, you'll feel, a lot of people are getting this ringing in their ear. I'll talk about that later. Here's one of the plasma crafts. Now, this is one of the Blajee's ships, and this is one of the 2 million years ahead of us ships, and it's just pure energy. And when you look close at this, it's a little washed out. You can see rotating fields of energy. You'll see it's pink in the middle, and it's blue, kind of blue on the outside, and it's turquoise on the top and bottom. And it's pulsing. It looks like a heart. It's really bizarre. And when you hear these ships, they're pulsing. They have a pulse, almost like a heartbeat. And it's very deep, like a cat purring. It almost puts you to, when you hear it, it puts you in an altered state, just almost when you listen to it. I played it over the Art Bell show, and I got everything from people just wanted a copy of it to a couple of people freaked out and they said, don't ever do that again. It popped me right out of my body, and I had this experience I wasn't ready for, So, but
what is exactly the plasma? Describe the difference between the plasma.
It's non-physical. It's just pure energy. It's an interdimensional one. You can see it. I think. Did it phase out already? I think it did. Yeah. Oh no, here it goes. Now there's a blow up of it. Now you're going to see it dematerialize. It's actually dropping the energy down into our dimension so we can see it, but it's still a light principle. It's just pure light right now and energy. And this is a blow up of it, and you'll see it's blown way up, and you'll see it start to dematerialize, and it just phases out.
So it's purpley pink in the center and green.
Yeah. The original footage is real clear. It's just hard to get the transfer right, and then it gets washed out on the big screen here. But you can actually see it's dematerializing. Now this one has all the scientists scratching their heads because they're going, okay, this is not a model, held by a string. This is pure pulsing energy, and
It just dematerialized.
yeah. Here's another one powering up.
Did you see that? I got that whole thing on film. Now some of these are flying. You can see the mountain.
You can see the energy coming off. See the field around it coming off. They'll throw a purple off, and then it goes into a violet. It's interesting.
I said, well, how's the
They
satellite
actually change
maintain
colors.
trajectory flying,
A lot of people keep going, oh, those are just satellites. But the problem is that these are self-illuminated, and they're flying over at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night. The sun is directly behind the earth. There's no reflective light, for these ships. But this is another one cruising over.
But also they move really kind of, it seems
A lot of that's me with a camera. It's really hard to get these on a tripod because all of a sudden they're there and you see them and they're usually coming over you, and you got to, to get a tripod to go up and over is almost impossible, and they're usually pretty steep. So I do it with a handheld.
So they're actually not moving like this?
No, they're coming straight. A lot of times they do move a little bit. We had one guy. It was really funny. This guy, this one guy was up there, and one was coming in straight over us, and it looked like a satellite, but it was really low. And he says, he goes, I'll believe that's not a satellite if it reverses position and goes back the other way. And right after he said that, it went back the other way. And he goes, okay, you got me. He said, it was pretty funny. But
so they hear what you're thinking.
Yeah. What they do is they fly over, they scan the group, and they see what you're ready for, and they come as close as you're ready. And they won't create any fear. If there's fear, they back away. If there's negative thinking, a lot of skepticism or negative thinking, they just go, they'll do something way up high, and that's all. But if you have a real good, tight group together and you have a lot of high energy, a lot of love and joy flowing, It's not about doing pious things, It's about, the best way to bring them in is to have little kids there and have a big campfire and have fun and bring music and things. That's what brings them in. It's just having fun, relaxing, the joy. I know these people. We had this one guy come up there and he read this 6 or 8 page meditation. He was going through the page on bringing the ships in. And he was on about page 3 and the ships are already there. And I tried to come inside and tell him. I went, excuse me, and he goes, don't interfere. I went, all right. I said, okay. So I walked back outside and we were all watching the ships and they heard us going, whoa, look at that. And all of a sudden they just all got up and came out. And he goes, how long has this been going on? And I said, about 3 pages ago. So, it's not intellectual. It's not a mind thing. It's a spirit or heart thing. That's how they connect. That was a flash.
How do you know the good? How do you discriminate?
Discern between the negative ones. And you can feel the frequencies and the energies emanating from them.
So when you call.
Yeah, there's a lot of protection. You can see, I believe these two were when Jordan was, and a lot of the people from here came up to the ranch, and this one here and the next one were there during the Metaphysical Library's outing up at the ranch. So these were nice and bright. The second one was really funny because I was telling this story. We were making spaghetti. We had a big spaghetti dinner going, and I said, as soon as I go in there to get a plate of spaghetti, they're going to come. I said, they do it every time. They play little jokes like that. And they're going, no, just go get it. Just go. And I said, okay. And so I go in there, and as soon as I put the spaghetti, I hear everybody screaming. I said, yay, like this. And I go, damn, I come running out. And you can hear me, I come out and I just drop my spaghetti and grab my camera and start filming it. And people are walking up and going, whoa, looking at it. And I'm going, don't step on my spaghetti, So it's kind of funny. But they do little we were telling people we're trying to keep it real clean up there because, with the intervention and people watching us all the time, we have a no drug policy up there. We tell people to come up and get high on the energy that's happening. And we had a guy went to break that policy. Now this is a jet. You can see real clearly. This is a jet. See the strobes? On it, it has a red and a green running light and a strobe. And this is actually right behind the UFO that just went by. And we have incredible chase scenes. We have a lot of footage of jets coming in on the UFO, and the UFO just disappears. And the jet goes by and it reappears again. You know? And we've had one fly right up the tailpipe of a jet and just disperse into light and just go right over the jet and keep going. And I would love to hear what that pilot was thinking, you know. So, I mean, it's pretty embarrassing, you know. Our technology versus theirs, it's very embarrassing. And like I was saying, in the interest of national security, we need to align with the benevolent ones. And we had that choice back in the 40s. And we made the wrong choice. We chose the ones that gave the technology, and so we could use it in the war industry, which is, it was a wartime, you know. It was like, that's what they said we need. You know, people thought they were doing the right thing, but it wasn't. It wasn't the right thing at all. You know, the benevolent ones were there too, and they said, well, we can't give you the technology because you're too primitive, you know, but if you evolve, you know, we'll give you the technology. If you evolve and stop warring and stop acting so primitive, we'll help you, you know, clean up the environment and move forward. This is a daylight shot right here. You can see it right down here going by. There's a blow-up of it.
Are you using a digital camera?
Everything. We're using almost everything from just 400 speed, you know, emulsion film to digitals to...
How do you see them during the day, or are they hard to detect?
They're, a lot of times you don't see them, but the cameras will pick them up. Because the camera picks up more of the light spectrum than your eye. And a lot of times they're just out of our visible light. And so the cameras, especially the digitals, will grab them much better.
Have you had anybody shooting infrared cameras up there, Jay?
You know what? We're working on that. Everybody keeps saying they're going to come and bring the equipment, and they just haven't done it yet. But infrared is an excellent way of doing it. This is another one on the mountain morphing. This is the second landing that we have. You can see it's morphing to 3. It's hard to tell because it's washed out. If we could turn the lights down, you could actually see the mountain. You can see the ridge of the mountain. Actually, the mountain's like the mountain ridge is right here. And it's actually on the mountain. You can see real clear on the if you take the DVD and you have a high resolution screen and put it on there, you'll see real clearly the outline of the mountain. But, you know, that eliminates, I was going to tell you, the OMSI guy, we took this footage to the OMSI guy, and what he said was, this is nothing but the space shuttle or meteors. He said, there's nothing here, you know, that impresses me at all. And, you know, and the guy didn't, the reporter, he was an ABC reporter, he didn't even question him, like, this is on the mountain, you know. He didn't even, I said, well, didn't you ask him, how is a space shuttle landing on the mountain, and how are these meteors on the mountain and morphing from 1 to 4 and 3? And they don't even ask any of these questions. So,
What's OMSI?
OMSI is the planetarium in Portland. It's the major planetarium, and they're supposed to be the authorities on, you know.
So why did he deny it? What would be the reason?
Because he'd lose his job, you know, probably. You know, you just don't do that. If you want to keep your job, if you want to keep your tenure, you know, if you're at a university, you just don't talk about this stuff because you lose your job.
Why do you think they morph? What's the meaning of morphing?
They have, what they told me is that their technology, they developed spiritually first, and their technology followed. And just like a lot of the yogis can actually bilocate, and they can morph, and they can actually go forward or backward in time and do all things like that, you know, levitate and everything else. They said that they could actually do that naturally. Okay, here's a triangle, and then their technology followed. You can see, whoops, I don't know what happened there. Oh, here it goes. Here's a triangle. You can see the triangle going by. You see the 3 stars. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, now you're going to see it go by some other stars. This is coming right over our heads. This is when Stephen Greer was there doing his training seminar. So we had actually 4 huge triangles. We had, actually, I think, at least 3 different groups filming these triangles, and probably 30 ships come over.
That must have been the
And yeah, exactly. Now these things come in, they bank up. We've had them reverse, go back the other way, and make complete right angle turns, which eliminates. They're trying to say this is the NOS satellite. It's 3 satellites tethered together. That's a special spy satellite system. Satellites don't reverse direction, and go back the other way or make right angle turns, which is what these are doing. There may be a system up there like that. I'm not saying there isn't, but I'm just saying these don't fit that parameter. Let's see, I think that's just the tripod on it. I think there's one more. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Can you turn up the volume on this? This one came in nice and low. Hear everybody cheering? There's the cheering section there. Now that's coming. Now this is cutting the mountain in half. It's right at about mid-level on the mountain. You hear the audience participation. It's real exciting for these things to come by. Okay, yeah, I think we've got one more. This is one of the latest ones, and I actually got it. It's coming up. I got it with a Sony 3 chip, and which is really nice. Somebody donated a really nice 3 chip. The only problem is that the lux is not low enough to really zoom in on this. But this is a beautiful one. That's actually Michelle in the back was standing right next to me while I was filming this one, and we had a couple other witnesses there. It's going to come up here again, and they're doing the same thing. Now this is you can't really see it in here. There's one frame where it shows the mountain where it is. But you can see the color spectrum on this. It's wonderful. It's morphing. Yeah, there it's morphing into 2. And they explained to me some of this technology. They said that we can make a whole fleet of ships out of one. And you would think, and they're all there. It's weird. They can they kind of explained to me how they can bilocate the ships, but they can make a whole fleet and do that. Wow. And it's almost like doing a time jump and then coming back and jumping, coming back, and pretty soon they have a whole fleet sitting there. It's really bizarre. It's like duplicating it. Yeah. It's technology beyond our. It's beyond me how they do it. I just watch them do it, and they give me. They give me a primitive understanding for my brain, to understand, but it's really highly technical what they're doing.
So if there are beings inside, they duplicate themselves.
Yeah, it'd be the same crew on several ships. Yeah, it'd be the same.
So you could see all the same people.
Yeah. So you better learn to love yourself if you're going to be on that dimension, because you have 7 of you walking around and shaking hands. It goes beyond soulmate, huh? Yeah, you could have 7 affairs with the same person, but nobody, and it wouldn't be wrong, Not that it is wrong. I'm not here to judge, but. It would all be the same person, different times, Pretty unlimited universe on there. We have all these little boxes we create, and they're beyond that. They're beyond any of the jealousy or any of the other stuff. Or I think it goes a little bit further. It's not too much longer on this one. They've got a jet chase on this one. I think we have the jet. Now this one was on the mountain, and then the next thing you know, we had one flying over us, and so we caught it flying over us. Here where I'm trying to grab it, flying over us right now. This is the same one on the mountain. Now it's flying right over our heads. And then, actually no, this is still on the mountain, it looks like. And then right after it flew by, a jet came in right on the same path as it flew over, following it. So, who knows how long we've been following these things. Probably 60 years we've been chasing these things.
How did you get them? How did you start this?
It was really interesting. Up in our area, Kenneth Arnold actually, when he lost sight of the ships, they were actually descending on the western slopes of Mount Adams. So, and the fire tower spotters have been seeing the UFOs there for years. There's a 100-year history. The Yakima Nation, the elders talk about them. They said they used to bring their sick and injured to them, and they would drop them off, and they would come back completely healed. People with broken legs and whatever. It was pretty amazing. But
Did they take him into the ships?
they take them inside the mountain. But they had to seal off the mountain because we were getting very aggressive. They said they couldn't. They basically said we have to seal off the mountain. They said we'll return again later, but right now we have to break off all connections, just because of the military and a lot of the other problems that are going on. They just don't want to deal with it. Here it's flying overhead. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Up there, there's just so much activity. Now, a lot of people go, where are the physical ships? There are physical ships on the website. I didn't have time to transfer it. There's hovering right over the conference building we're building and some other things going on. But the main thing is, right now we have probably 40 hours of footage. Here's the jet coming in. You can see the strobe on the jet. In just a minute, I'll focus in on it. I'll get a little clear focus, and you can see real clearly the difference. The UFOs are one solid light, but these jets, when they're coming in, they have strobes. They have a green. There's a green and a red light on these things, and a strobe. But here it is again. Here's the jet coming in. So you can see. I backed off a little bit because I was losing clarity on it, but you can see real clear. There's a major difference between the two. But there's just so much evidence. What I was saying is we've got probably 40 hours of footage like this. We've got stills taken by UFO investigators. I think, oh yeah, this is that nice one. We call that one the Bethlehem ship because it looks like a star, coming over. But we've got, I don't know how many stills, and we probably have 3,000 eyewitnesses now. We stopped counting. And we have some of the top physicists in every field that have come up and have seen the ships. And some are involved in some of the back engineering, and they said, definitely, these are not ours. These are, they said, without a doubt. Can you turn up the volume on this? I think the pulse is on. Whoops.
Thank you very, very much, James.
Oh, sorry, too late. Never mind. Yeah, well, you can go to the website and get the pulse if you want. But the thing is that there's so much evidence right now, it's just undeniable. I mean, any reasonable mind, we deal with the unreasonable minds all the time. But we tell them, come up and see it for yourself, and then you tell us what it is. It's an unknown. Nobody can define these things. What they're doing is unknown to us. They're definitely, they're at least UFOs. To us, they're identified because we've been in contact for about 9 years now. But, it's going to be, we've only got a couple years, and there's no way. You're going to be seeing them everywhere in the next couple years. There's no way you can deny it. It's already started. But because they have to come in now to help us get through these times and help out with a lot of the earth changes and things like that. So you're going to be seeing a lot of them coming in the next couple years.
I had two questions for you.
Yes.
Not connected. If these are the times, as you're saying, are we talking Greg Braden's polar shifts? Are we talking about that? Or what are we talking about? Scalar technology being used? What are we talking about when we say these are the times? And secondly, could you comment on Carol Rosson's and Stephen Greer's quoting of Werner von Braun that the next enemy is the aliens from the government, and when that will happen, or if that will happen? Where we are on that agenda.
Oh, you mean the fake invasion?
Yeah, the fake invasions, etc.
Yeah. Actually, it's going to be really hard to pull that one off. The fake invasion. I really don't think they're going to pull that one off. There's too many other things that are unfolding much quicker than their timeline was permitting. They may try it. I don't know, because we do have our own ships and they're back engineered, and there are some people that have that kind of technology. But right now there are so many benevolent ships here, and the higher beings are here, and they're watching a lot of this stuff, and there's going to be a lot of intervention. So that scenario, they might try to pull it off, but it's not going to a lot of it's the educational process. If we can educate people that not to buy the nonsense, not to get into the fear and the negativity and everything else, and realize that if we can rise above the occasion, we can get the help we need. People wonder about that. They go, aren't you afraid of the negative ETs coming in? And I said, not when the benevolent ones are there. They won't allow it. The other one about the shifts.
Yeah.
The Earth changes. It's a lot of what Greg Braden is talking about. There is a magnetic pole shift that's underway. I mean, a lot of the other planets have already done it in this solar system. So, there will be a magnetic pole shift. My understanding of the total pole shift, like the whole planet flipping over and the oceans reeling across the land and everything else, I don't think it's going to be that severe. The Earth will straighten itself out because it's 23 degrees off tilt, and it's because of a meteor that whacked it in the past pretty hard. That was the downfall of Atlantis and Lemuria and things of that nature. But it's going to straighten itself back out again. And so climates are going to change. There's a lot of things that are happening of that nature. It's really wobbling, and the plates have to move so it can balance itself back out again, and that's what we're moving into right now.
Time frame on this or all the information?
Next 2 years.
Next 2 years.
Yeah, it's starting now. That tsunami and that major quake was part of it, and it hasn't stopped. It'll continue. The plates are going to continue to move, and there's going to be a lot of movement with the oceans, and a lot of erratic weather is going to continue. Just all the above. It's just going to keep escalating until it's done.
So even with a minor pole shift or the minor changes would be more radical than anything we've seen on Earth in hundreds, if not thousands of years.
Yeah. It'll be. That tsunami was pretty radical.
Yeah.
We haven't seen one of those in quite a long time, but a lot of. Back in 1982, I brought this information out, and it's in the books, basically. And I talked about the sun, and the sun would continue to expand, and it would create erratic weather, and there'd be an increase in earthquake and volcanic activity, and that would continually escalate, along with the erratic weather and the tornadoes and the hurricanes. All this stuff was given back in 1982. And I actually got run out of Dodge, basically, by giving this information by some spiritual groups, They got very angry, and I said, hey, look, they go, you're creating it, you remember the Santa Cruz incident? She was there in Santa Cruz, and we gave the exact time and date of that earthquake, the San Francisco earthquake. And, we said, we're leaving. Well, and everybody goes, well, you need to get out of here because you're creating it. And I go, no, we're not. I'm not that powerful. I'm a visionary. That's it. I'm just telling you something's coming. And it really upset a lot of people. And a lot of people got very angry with this because we challenged their comfort zone. And then after it happened, we came back and they're still mad at us. They were still angry at us, And so rather than being a little humble and say, what's next, they're still mad at us. So we just said, okay. And I kind of got out of the earth change business, for a while. Because, what does it do? Everybody gets upset and angry at you, and they don't want to change, and so, I kind of backed out of that area a little bit. But I'm feeling now it's time to start talking about it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, can you talk more about it?
He's got the...
I want to thank you, James, for coming.
Oh, thank you.
You've been a light for me. And with all this news and negativity and the election and all that stuff, it's really nice to hear what you have to say. But what I want to ask you about is, talking about the poles, are there openings on the poles, and is the earth hollow on the inside? Can you talk about that?
There's large areas of the earth that are hollow, and there's more than one civilization on the interior. And there are openings at the poles. Only certain people can get in there. But it depends on your level of consciousness as to whether you enter or not. But, that's a walk on the wild side. Some people have a hard time with that. But a lot of research is looking in that direction, with a lot of the ground-penetrating radar and a lot of the other things. They're saying, wait a second, we can't tell whether it's liquid or whether it's a gas or what, because the readings are giving them the same reading, whether it's liquid or a gas. They're not sure. So So a lot of that, but there's definitely huge underground caverns. There's whole civilizations living under the earth. There's a lot of the ancients that we knew about, the blue people, like Shiva, you know, how they have blue skin and things like that. There's whole civilizations down there that are blue-skinned people. There's some very little people down there, real small little people. One of my encounters, I met with one of these little guys, and he had two guys standing next to him that were almost 8 feet tall. And I asked him, I said, what a cute little guy. And I got hit with this energy from this guy. It about floored me. And it was very humbling, and I was very embarrassed. And I go, sorry, you know. And he was the leader, you know. The little guy was the one with the juice, you know. So I learn a lot of lessons as I go, you know, that just because you're small and different looking, you know, the outer appearance doesn't mean anything. You know, you can have some what would look like grotesque to us or different looking beings that are extremely evolved, you know, intently spiritual on the inside. You know, like Yoda, you know, that's the stuff they're trying to teach us, you know, like don't judge the package. You know, you can have some other beings that look, you know, very godly, you know, but their own self-interest is involved. You know, there's interdimensional beings, there's interstellar beings, there's all these different beings. So we just can't, you know, judge the package anymore. We have to learn to sense from the soul the energies of a being, you know, what their intentions are. You have to develop the inner sensitivity so you can feel, you know, what their agenda is. You know, that's the best part. Because there's a lot of beings, you know, there's not very many. There's only a few that are we call them problem children in the universe. You know, they're a little bit self-serving, and they're not honoring our divine right to free will, and they're doing some experimenting and things like that. But a lot of that's being put to a stop right now by the benevolents that are here now. That's all coming to a close. But I hope that answers your question.
Hi, James.
Hi.
Nice to see you again. I have a few things to ask you to elaborate more on tonight.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was when you talked about the cat people, and it reminded me of, in the Egyptian times, many of the animal-looking like beings. And are they the same kind of beings that you saw? Because they did have cat people in the Egyptian times, and then there's Horus, you know, and all these weird-looking creatures. Were they connected with the ETs? And you don't need to answer that one right now, but hold on to that one. And then the other thing is, I remember when the tsunami happened, that some Italian geologists said that the Earth went into a wobble at that time. So I want to know if you had heard about that. That was on CNN, actually.
And I think it actually speeded up a little, didn't it, or did it slow down?
They
I can't
said
remember.
It just went into a wobble. I don't know. And I had I channel Mother Mary's. A lot of people here know and don't know, but on December 1st, I had a small little group at my house, and she did talk about death, and she said that we're going to be seeing a lot of it coming up, to be ready for it, and that we're going to see a lot of earth changes. And she never says that through me. It's only the second time. The first time was 3 weeks before 9/11. The second time was 3 weeks before the tsunami. So, you know, it feels like there's a lot coming up, and I think people here are interested. So that's number 2, the wobble thing. And the third thing is the underground people. I was in Mount Shasta, and a message came through that the Telos people, or whatever they want to call them, are also connected in here with Mount Ashland, and that they're drawing us to these areas because these are going to be safe areas for us to be in the earth changes. So I wanted you to elaborate more on that. For
they're connected with Mount Adams as well. The first one was, what was your first question again? The cat felines? In ancient India, the felines, they called them Narsringa, and they used to pray to Narsringa for protection. And there's a lot of stories about where families were praying, and they had some guy that was you know, a really nasty character, really harassing the family. And they would pray to Narsringa, and all of a sudden you see the guy running away, and his shirt's being torn up, and he's getting knocked down to the ground, and nobody sees anything there, you know. But there's a lot of ancient stories about that, and that's one of the gods that they would pray to for protection. So Sekhmet is the Egyptian version of that. So these beings have been around for a long time, and until we totally evolve into that non-judging space and see them as, they're humanoid, see them as a creation of God that's different, but they're still a being. They're extremely loving beings, very advanced. The one that I met actually ran and gave me a big hug like we were family, and I felt this incredible love exchange between us. It was just, and I was just going, I want to come back. That was the feeling. I remember this, I want to come back. And then I started talking to other physicists, and they had the same experiences with these beings, and they're actually, the ones that are at a certain level of evolution on the earth, they're actually giving them knowledge and helping them. She didn't say anything. It was all telepathic. On the higher levels, it's just, I imagine, I don't know, I would imagine. But, okay, the other one was the earth wobble. Is that the? Yeah, the earth definitely is wobbling, and that's why the plates have to move. The plates have to move to balance out. Oceans are moving. Water is really heavy. When the tides come in, there's a lot more water. The poles are melting. The water distribution, everything is changing right now. So the earth is going to be moving. And you're right, people are being guided. A lot of people are being guided. This is a power spot right here. This is one. Mount Adams is another very powerful spot, Shasta. One of the things, I don't know if you remember, but were you there? No, it was Rhea was there. Do you remember Rhea? Did she tell you about the trip to Shasta? It was incredible. But you're with us. You're with us on that one. I did 2 trips, and I was trying to remember which one. But Rhea and I went way up on top of the mountain, and we were coming back down, and the rest of the group was down on the bottom sitting there talking, and I saw this very tall blonde woman in kind of a flowing gown walk right by the group, and she stopped and she turned and she had her hands out like this, and it looked like she was talking to the group, but we were pretty far up. And so we're running down the mountain, and I was trying to go, who is this woman? I kind of wanted to see what it was. I felt this wonderful energy, and I saw her walk behind a rock, and she never came out. And I kept watching this rock, and I looked behind the rock, and there's nobody there. And I came down to the group, and I said, well, who is that blonde woman? And everybody's going, what? What blonde? Nobody saw her. But we were a distance away, so I guess she allowed us to see her. But she was actually sending energy and blessing, and it was one of the beings from underground, from the inside of, they call it Telos. But was that the 3 questions? Did I answer all 3? But they're definitely there. A lot of these beings, they're extremely advanced beings. Some of them are all the way back from Atlantis and Lemuria. They went underground during the changes. And a lot of those beings actually left during these changes. There are a lot of beings that went back out into space and went back to the homeworlds. And so we're in that process where not too long in our future, the other beings are going to make themselves known from the interior, and the other beings are going to be coming from all the different star nations. And this is almost all the Native American prophecies talk about this. They talk about, one of the wonderful prophecies, I'll share it with you, one of the elders told me I could share it, and right before he died, he passed it on. He said there is a beast, and the beast is 2,000 miles long. And he said 2,000 represents the years of its reign. It's going to reign, give or take 2,000 years. Native American time goes, So he said 2,000 years it's going to reign. He said this beast is going to consume everything. It's going to try to dominate and control and consume everything. And he said right in the last days, when you think there's no more hope, the beast consumes itself. And he said, and then everything shifts. And then he said, and then you go into the 2,000 years of peace. So all these prophecies are all pointing to the same thing. There's this real negative element running right here, right now. It's going to have its time. It's going to implode on itself. It's going to consume itself. And then it's going to go. I asked some of the ETs if they could explain this further to me, and they said it's quite simple. They said we can explain it very simply. What goes around comes around. If you're doing all these wonderful deeds and helping people, and you're serving humanity and the earth through these times, that's going to fold back through. And they said the people that are doing the negative stuff and harmful to humanity and the earth and destroying the earth, that is going to implode and come back through. And so it's self-destructive. Their actions are totally self-destructive. I love what Gandhi said. He said, the only thing that gives me solace, in the face of tyranny is the immutable law of karma. Just knowing that law is immutable, And so I've always wondered about this. We have these people that, want to dominate and control everything, and they consider themselves very clever, very wise, very advanced. They haven't even figured out karma yet, Basic action, reaction. They haven't figured that out yet, And it's just like, that's a third grade mentality. It's not that, it doesn't take a, brain surgeon or rocket scientist to figure out what goes around comes around. So, it might be a little slow to catch up, but it will catch up. And that's what they're not going to make the shift, put it that way. And the shift is on. I mean, you can't deny it. You can feel it. Before it was like all this incoming energy, and now it's coming from the earth itself. You can feel it coming up and through you. And anything everything has a frequency or vibration to it. All thought has a frequency. So the lower vibrational thought is fear, unworthiness, guilt, anger, jealousy. That's all the lower frequency thoughts. The higher frequency thoughts are love, joy, bliss, the higher energies, service. Okay, all those thoughts and attitudes and emotions right now are being pushed almost, it's like the soul, we're being invaded from the soul, like our God self or soul is coming in, and it's pushing all that out to deal with. So all of our old wounds and traumas and wrong conclusions, even from past lives as well, are coming up to process. And, the only way through this stuff is just surrender, just give it up. The more we point the blame, do the blame game and try to blame everybody else for our creations, the harder it's going to be, because it's just going to come around again bigger, So, if you're feeling, if we're feeling abandoned, we're feeling unloved, we're not getting what we need from others and everything else, and we keep doing that, we have to go back and go, you know what, these are my feelings, And what's interesting is that we played a nasty trick on ourselves. We keep seeking what we already have, It's like the Tibetans have a wonderful story. They said Christianity is like going out and saddling up your horse and riding out looking for it. And you've been sitting on it all along, it's right there. And so, in consciousness, we are created in the same image and likeness of whatever you want to call it, the source, which is infinite love and joy and bliss. That's what it is, and that's at the core of everybody's being. And then we have all these layers of junk, and garbage around that core. So that the layers are coming off right now. The veils are coming down. The masks are coming off, and it's all coming off right now. And that's what's going down. And then, basically, we can go, like this, like block it and go like this, or we can go, okay, let me have it, And the source is going, as you wish, as you wish, And you want to make everybody the bad guys, it's going, as you wish, When I go, hey, I bless you, do your thing, see you later, it's a little better path right now. But, the main thing is that, we have to stand in our truth and allow that courage to come through and that right knowing, that right action, whatever you want to call it. We do have to make a stand. We don't have to attack others or judge and condemn others, but we can make a stand for what's right, what's in the highest and best good of humanity and the earth right now. And that's what we all have to do. We have to do a lot of soul searching right now and get back in touch with our core in order to make it through these changes. Because if we don't, the people that are very dense and heavy and very controlling, the tyranny, that kind of energy is going to get hit like a brick, because it's dense, it's heavy. The people that have lightened up, it's going to get hit like a feather, and they're going to hear, they're going to hear, they're going to be guided to these places, like you're talking about. They're going to be guided. All of a sudden, they're going to go, I can't do this anymore, and they're going to leave the coast and come up and say, I'm feeling like I want to be in the mountains right now. I don't know. And the Christians are praying and they're going, yeah, I feel like I need to be up in the mountains right now, And, the Muslims are praying and go, it's time to leave this area, Yeah, everybody's getting it, but they don't know where it's coming from. And it's coming from many, many sources. So it's like, I mean, even Billy Graham calls the ETs God's other angels, and the Catholic Church has accepted them, as being authentic, and part of their past. So it's time for all the nonsense of the past. I asked the ETs what they were here for. I said, can you sum it up in one sentence why you're here? And they said to release the past. And I said, okay, can you do that in two sentences? And they said, well, the past is creating your tomorrow. And they said, all of your old wounds and karmas, all the unforgiveness, all the grudges, all that stuff is creating your tomorrow. And they said, we came in to help you release the past, so you can move on to a brighter future. And that was their core message, So, it was all real simple when I understood it, but it is pretty simple. Go ahead.
So I have can you hear me? Okay,
yes.
I have a question about that. Do they tell you how to release the past? Mm-hmm. And do they have spiritual technology about that they recommend? And so I'd like you to address that. And then I have a real more practical question, which is what's going to happen when the changes, the shifts happen to the earth, to the population and the beings inside the earth?
Yeah, some are prepared for it. Some of them are actually going to leave and then come back. And some have already prepared for it. Some have already prepared on the inner level. They're going to write it out. They have a technology to shield themselves from it. So they know how to do that. It's not that hard. I mean, they could bring a ship over and turn on their fields and nothing will happen to your area. They have that kind of technology. So it depends, if we get our consciousness in the right order, and there's a lot of help and protection and guidance going on right now. What was the other question?
The other question was about what kind of psychological and spiritual.
Oh yeah, the process. Yeah. There's so many different forms of process-oriented therapy out there, and there's a lot of different techniques that work. I actually wrote about them in the books. I wrote techniques in the books and ways of healing unseen negative energies, how to clear your space. And then, we do process-oriented therapy up there. I got out of it for quite a while because I had to regenerate. I took on so much and my body was just getting slammed. And so I got out of it, but I'm going to start up again pretty soon, probably this summer because it's time. But
I mean, something that they give, I'm familiar with all the processes, but it's something that they recommend specifically.
Okay, if you took, like some of the Pleiadians we're working with, if you took the highest masters on the earth, like, Jesus or Buddha or Muhammad, all these different masters, you put them all together in one race of beings, that's what you would have. And they have incredible spiritual abilities and technologies. And you can access, they'll help you access, the hurts and the wounds and traumas and clear them. There's techniques of doing it. There's a lot of groups out there. There's a lot of schools. The one in Yelm, the School of Enlightenment, they're doing a lot of work on that level. There's holotrophic breath work helps process a lot of that. There's hypnotherapy that helps process some of that. There's so many different techniques out there, and they all work. The neat thing about right now is that it's like a power tool. You got to plug it in, and the power is so close. It's close right now. It's not that far away. So all you got to do is try. Put your intent for that to happen, and meditate and ask for help and clearing. And it's not going to be fun in the beginning because you're going to have a lot of experiences that are going to bring events to you so you can heal and process this thing. But you just have to create that part of yourself that's a witness, that you can observe it and realize it's not you, but it's just something you're going through, and thank the experiences as they come. And just say, what I find a lot of times I just go up and I just lay down and I'll go into meditation and I just see my whole body filled with light and I just ask for release. And I just say, help me release the past, release whatever, I ask them to help me gain the wisdom from the experience. And once the wisdom is there, it settles in the soul as wisdom and it's done. And so whenever experience, I'll meditate on it, I'll go, okay, why did I create this experience? And then I'll find out why. And then I go, okay, and then I gain the wisdom from it. It settles in the soul, I'm done. So a lot of it's just tapping in and asking for help, and there's techniques to do that. There's a lot of different techniques out there. There's just find one that feels good and feels right, for you. Okay.
Hey, James, got a question for you.
Yeah.
The new children that are coming in, they call them
Yeah.
crystal kids, star kids,
Uh-huh.
the indigos. I'm finding when I'm working with them at 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, they know more than most of the adults.
Yeah,
What is their
yeah.
connection with these galactic beings? Are they being seated in soul energy and merging with them? Because that's what it feels like to me.
It is, yeah. Yeah, they are them. It's a lot of us here in this very room, we're more from the stars in our soul than we are from Earth. And, we don't fit in. We go, what are these people doing, And so it's hard for us because it's hard for us to be around some of these other energies because you're ultra sensitive. You're a lot more sensitive than most people. So it's, and because of that is because in your soul, you're from a more highly evolved space, and you came, here, and this is the work basically here on Earth. It's not, people think this is a bad place to be or anything else. This is where the masters come, it's the last, the best way I can explain it, it's the last density of creation. It's where the source becomes physical. And we have a chance here to co-create, basically. We have powerful emotions, which is part of the creative process. And so we're given free will in these powerful emotions that come with being here. And we have to master that. And this is the biggest test of all, is walking through this. Some of these beings, like the Andromedans, they've already come all the way through down to the physical, and they've gone back. And so they've gone all the way through and back, and they're coming here now to help us with that process. And so there's, the best way to explain it, there's a vibrational continuum. And there's beings that are physical, like we are. There's beings that are energy, they're kind of energy. There's beings that are pure light. They have a magnetized light body. And there's other beings that are just pure consciousness and energy. And the interesting part of it is that we have bodies ourselves all along that vibrational continuum. So we're running around thinking we're bodies and personalities. That's just the thimbleful. That's the drop in the ocean, The intellect is only a drop in the sea of consciousness. But basically, we're so much more than that. We're actually these immense, vast spiritual beings that have fallen down into the belief that we're just a body and a personality. And we just have to go back, and that's what these other beings did. They went back. And when they reached a certain level of their spiritual evolution, their bodies went with them, and they rose up to the next level. And so there's beings all along that have increased their frequency or their vibration, have gone up to the next level. I hope that answers your question.
Is the galactic beings about love, peace, and joy?
Why don't you tell us about it? You know more than I do. No, it's really, it's a good question. And you know what? You could probably answer it better than I could. But that's what they operate on. They operate on peace, love, and joy. And a lot of the children nowadays that are coming in are not that far from heaven, you might say. They've come in from these higher places, and they're living it. And we're trying to stick them in these little boxes, You got to learn this, you got to learn this, you got to learn this. I'll tell you what some of the other beings do with their children. It's wonderful, and you might like this. What they do is the kids, when they get to be around 9 years old or so, they take them on the ships, and they shift from physical reality into creation. So all of a sudden, this kid had a near-death experience, and you go, whoa, I'm one with everything, I'm pure energy, I'm pure light, I'm one with everything. Then they bring him back, and they're attuned enough, they know the whole unique purpose of this kid, because they're very spiritually attuned as counselors. So they give this kid all that he can to excel, to be all he can be, the best he can be in honoring his unique purpose. And in doing so So now they have this kid that is excelling, the best of the best in his field or whatever, and he learns the other fields too as well. And then he has the knowledge of oneness in giving back to the whole, that, hey, I'm just here to serve, I'm just here to help. And so these beings, what happens, they took a quantum leap in evolution by doing that. And that same thing is available to us. If we could get people that are more spiritually attuned, watch the kids, watch what they gravitate towards. Look for their just natural abilities and help them. If they move into building things, give them the tools. Put them together with a carpenter or something. What art, move them in that direction. It doesn't matter, but that's what we need to do with our children: is stop sticking them in these boxes. And find out why they're here. Get a little more attuned in why they're here and what they came to do, and then help them do it. And then we'll have a quantum leap.
Earlier you mentioned about ear ringing. I'd like for you to speak to that.
Okay, yeah. I've had a bunch of people ask me about that. A lot of that is higher frequency communication coming in, and it's downloaded directly into your subconscious. And it bleeds out later on as you need it. And there's a lot of people that are getting that real strong. You hear this ringing, and it's almost like somebody blowing in your ear where it's going poof, you hear an opening in your ear. And it's a download of everybody's going, I'm getting tetany or something like that. It's usually not that. It's just communication going on. It's high frequency communication. And a lot of people are getting that right now. They're hearing the ringing. They're hearing low pulses. They're hearing all kinds of things. And what's funny is nobody else will hear it around them. And it's just because, their sacred senses are kicking on. We're all kicking on beyond the five senses. The other senses are kicking on. And pretty soon the clairvoyancy is going to kick on. You're going to start seeing the shadow beings, cruising all around you. You're going to see other little people, whole civilizations living right alongside you that you didn't know were there. And that's part of the shift that's going on. There's hearing. You're going to start hearing, singing. You hear ringing. You hear all these other things, other tones. Yeah. Yeah, bells. A lot of people are hearing bells. And then feeling. Start feeling the presence. You'll be sitting in your house and you go, wait a minute, there's somebody behind me. And there's nobody there and you can't shake it, and there usually is somebody there. And you just can't see them. That's when you do the clearing any unseen negative influences, and then if they're still there, then have a conversation with them. But that's what we do. I'm not going to offend anybody by doing clearing work, by clearing the energy in the room. Those techniques are in the books. It teaches you how to do that in the books. Go ahead.
Do you get any advice from these folks regarding any of our political or economic or financial and what's good on the stock market tomorrow? But seriously, any advice on that about these structures that we have and what might be improved with them?
A lot of them are going to go away. I wouldn't count on them. It's interesting. Like, a lot of people ask me about, stock market and things like that, and I said, well, it's really hard to talk to them about that because they don't have a monetary system. They don't even use money. They found out it creates a lot of competition and greed and adversity, and they dropped it a long time ago because, like I was saying before, they all work towards the betterment of the whole, and they're not. They don't need a monetary system. They've evolved beyond it. We're having trouble right now building the center. Everybody's going, why don't they just drop off a bundle of $1 million bills and everything else? And I go, well, they don't. I guess they could, but it's just not important to them. It seems like it's, and it's frustrating because we're trying to do the work down here. But they said, well, we're inspiring people all the time to come and help. People come and they see the ships and they have the incredible experience and they go away. We go, what's up with that? Yeah, what's up with that? You had a phenomenal experience, it's like, and then they just disappear, it's amazing. But, it's not really looking good because the problem with nature is that, the platform for life is nature, basically. And it's going to go through so many changes right now that it's not going to be business as usual. And I wouldn't really rely on stocks and bonds and, probably move more into gold or something tangible, land, get your gardens in and get a little more sovereign if you can. That's the best thing to do, because that's, and help others that don't have it. It's important. If you're blessed with abundance, go out and get yourself a nice big piece of property and put a bunch of gardens in and everything else, and help those that, they'll come and help you garden and help you make it happen. So it's important that we all have to work together through these times, and the people that are blessed with abundance are going to have to help out some of the people that aren't doing too well in that area, and gear up for it.
Getting short on time, so.
How much time we got left? We're done? Okay. After this, we're done.
Oh, I was just wondering if you think the Mayan civilization was tuned into the future, being as that their calendar ends in 2012, and people are talking about some kind of shift occurring then.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. That's what we're moving into, those shifts and those times. And it's going to really accelerate. From here on out, it's going to accelerate rapidly. And, everybody thinks that everything's going to hit the fan in 2012. It's going to hit the fan all the way from here to 2012. So, it's better. We have to end now, so I wanted to show you some of the free energy. We have it in the videos in the back, and he also has them here in the library. It's the Keys to Utopia video. It has the free energy machines and everything else operating on it if you wanted to see that. But I felt that the people are more important. The questions of the people are a lot more important. So I just want to thank everybody for coming, and it's wonderful seeing a lot of you again, and thanks for having me.
RVML Resource Center is a volunteer-operated federal 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit organization. RVML is dedicated to providing easy access to a comprehensive collection of information on a variety of metaphysical, spiritual, and personal development subjects. RVML accepts and appreciates all donations. Material and monetary contributions are fully tax-deductible. This recording is not copyrighted, and permission is granted to broadcast, exhibit, or duplicate all or part of this program for non-commercial educational purposes. This live presentation was organized and presented by the Rogue Valley Metaphysical Library and Event Center. For more information, please visit rvml.org.